Ah, crossovers. Who doesn't love themselves a good old crossover? With crossovers such as the Avengers movies and Super Smash Bros., crossovers are a great way to have two different franchises interact with each other in ways that you never even thought were possible before. They're great ways to get fans of any franchise to get together and enjoy the same thing. And Danganronpa is no stranger to crossovers. Actually, you'd be surprised with how many crossovers this series has had throughout its 10-year lifespan. Mainly because most of these crossovers have been only available in Japan. That doesn't mean that none of these crossovers have made their way outside of Japan. In fact, a lot of the more recent crossovers have made their way outside of Japan. There have been crossovers with Attack on Titan, the video game version at least, Crypta the Necrodancer, Terraria, Identity V, and even a cross-promotion with Ted the Movie. You know, that one Seth MacFarlane comedy movie with a teddy bear? Yeah, Japan thought it would be a good idea to promote this movie alongside Danganronpa, the animation of all things. There's even a commercial where Monokuma talks about watching Ted the Movie with Mario once he gets into Super Smash Bros. If Monokuma gets into Smash, and his reveal trailer isn't him watching Ted the Movie with Mario, we riot. But the reason I made this video wasn't just so that I could talk about Danganronpa crossovers. At least, that wasn't the only reason I made this video. No, the reason why was because when you go through the list of Danganronpa crossovers, you'll notice that Danganronpa V3 has a surprising lack of crossovers despite being the most recent entry in the series. Out of all the crossovers that Danganronpa has had over its 10-year lifespan, there have only been 2 crossovers with Danganronpa V3 at the time of writing this video. Those 2 crossovers being Pixel Junk Monsters 2, which only features the Monocubs in the crossover, and Gravity Rush 2. And that crossover was just the development teams playing the demos of each other's games. Whoopee! This bothered me because, like I said, Danganronpa has always been a fan of crossing over with other series. Even entries that weren't as popular as V3, such as Ultra Despair Girls and the Danganronpa 3 anime, had more crossovers than what V3 has currently. No, there had to be some reason why V3 doesn't have any crossovers. I thought about it for a bit, and I quickly realized the unfortunate truth as to why V3 has no crossovers. And there will be spoilers concerning Danganronpa V3's Chapter 1 for the remainder of this video. So if you haven't played through Danganronpa V3 Chapter 1, I highly recommend you don't watch the rest of this video. Okay? Okay. So, in Chapter 1 of Danganronpa V3, Kaede Akamatsu, the character you've been playing as this whole time, ends up being the killer of the first murder of the game, and she ends up being executed at the very end of the class trial. During the trial, you end up gaining control of Suichi Saihara, and he ends up being the protagonist for the rest of the game. You might be asking yourself, what does this have to do with Danganronpa V3 having no crossovers? Well, you see, viewer, prior to the release of Danganronpa V3, most of the promotional material showed off Kaede as the protagonist of the game, with not even a hint that Suichi was going to be the protagonist at some point within the pre-release material. In fact, the creator of Danganronpa, Kodaka, went on record to say that he intentionally made the promotional material be this way, in order to not reveal the big twist with Kaede. He even encouraged Let's Players and streamers to not play past Chapter 1 for the first few weeks of the game, in order to keep the Kaede twist a secret to new players. It's clear the Danganronpa team wanted Kaede being a killer to be a secret even after the game's release. When you make that decision, you're going to have to sacrifice a few things in order to keep that twist a secret. In the case of V3, it means cutting down heavily in the game's marketability, especially when it comes to crossovers. Why is that, you might ask? Well, let's use Identity V as an example as to why it's hard for V3 to have any crossovers. In that crossover with the Danganronpa games, 4 new characters are added into Identity V, representing that game in their series. Let's say we want to make an Identity V crossover with Danganronpa V3. If the Danganronpa team wants to keep the Kaede killer twist a secret, Kaede must be one of the characters represented within the crossover. However, if the Danganronpa team wants the actual protagonist to be within the crossover too, Suichi will also have to take up one of those 4 spots. leaving only 2 additional slots for other V3 characters. I don't know, they could be like Kokichi or Maki or something. And this applies with all crossovers of Danganronpa V3, not just this one. Kaede must be shown off as the protagonist in every single crossover that they do in the future. A character that died in Chapter 1 has more of a chance of being in a crossover than the actual protagonist of the game. With all this effort just to keep the Kaede twist a secret, I can see why Spike Chunsoft has been hesitant to give crossovers to Danganronpa V3, even though it's the most recent entry in the series. So, could Danganronpa V3 get crossovers in the future? Well, that's up for Spike Chunsoft to decide, not me. Maybe V3 will get like 15 crossovers announced tomorrow. Or we might not see a single new crossover for V3 anytime soon. But whatever the case is, it's interesting to see how keeping things spoiler-free affects marketing in certain video games. Or not if you're like Masahiro Sakurai, and you put spoilers for the Xenoblade Chronicles series all over the place in Super Smash Bros.